What's up everybody, this is my surprise Blu-ray collection video. A lot of you are probably thinking, what are you doing back? I don't know, I just decided to make a video. I haven't made one in like a year and a half, but this should be pretty fun. My Blu-ray collection has not changed too much in the past 2 years. I've probably added only 10 to 15 Blu-rays, but hopefully you've forgotten what my Blu-ray collection looks like, and this will be a fun experience. I actually just got a new dog recently. His name is Pirate. Unfortunately, Murphy passed away last August, and so just about a week ago I got this little guy. He's a handful, but he's really cool. So right before we get into this, I just wanted to say that my Blu-ray collection, I feel like it's really different than most people's collections, and I hope you see that, and I hope you enjoy it. One thing I do, I throw away all my slipcovers, so unfortunately if that's going to offend you, I'm sorry. This is going to be a movie collection video, not just a Blu-ray collection video, so I will be showing off my DVDs and I guess my TV shows and things I have on the shelf, so let's get to it. So at the top of my shelf here, I have this James Stewart collection, which I guess I'll show you what comes in, I don't even remember. FBI Story, a double feature of The Cheyenne Social Club and Fire Creek, The Spirit of St. Louis, which is actually a Billy Wilder movie, The Naked Spur, and The Stratton Story. I've seen all of those movies. None of them are, I guess, too amazing, but I like the set it comes in. I also have this Paul Newman set, which I will not be showing you what's in it. Badlands, which is one of my favorite movies. We've got this book, 52 Must-See Movies. It's just kind of up there to take up space. We have the Il Sorpasso Criterion. This is one of my favorite movies. This was actually my favorite movie I watched all last year. It's an Italian road comedy film with some drama in there too, but I just absolutely love it. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that. I've got this Ollie book next to the movie book. And this little guy, which I got in my very first video ever years ago. You may remember it, but I doubt it. Another Criterion On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando. One of the best picture winners ever. And then Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. As you can tell, I'm a huge James Stewart fan, but I do like an actor better, which would be Sean Penn, and he's right next to Jess Piccoli and his first book, Bob Honeyhood Just Do Stuff, and then of course the Lord of the Rings extended edition. On the top left of my shelf, I just have a bunch of Survivor DVDs, so outside of movies, the only TV show I really watch is Survivor, and as you can tell, I'm addicted. It's like a religion to me. I know I've seen every single season so many times, but we're not going to get into that because that would bore everyone. Try to speed through this, but this is actually my Disney Animated Classics section, and I actually used to own every single one of these, but I had a Blu-ray apocalypse where I really got rid of everything I didn't want to watch anymore. So these are truly just some of my favorites, which as you can tell, still a lot. We have Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Fantasia 2000. Dumbo. Oh my god, dude. The remake of this year sucked. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad and Fun and Fancy Free. I really just own this for the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Cinderella. This is probably my least favorite Disney I own, but for some reason I just can't get rid of it. Alice in Wonderland. Peter Pan. Lady and the Tramp. Sleeping Beauty, which I guess I'd consider the most underrated Disney movie at this point. I know Maleficent's pretty beloved. This film all around is pretty fantastic, and if you actually want to see my ranking of all the Disney classics, I have it on my Letterboxd account. I'll leave a link down below. 101 Dalmatians, The Jungle Book, Sword in the Stone, The Aristocats, Robin Hood, The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Fox and the Hound, The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under. Actually, The Rescuers Down Under is completely trash and I would not own it, but since it's a 2-pack, I really like The Rescuers. The Great Mouse Detective, Oliver and Company, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, which I have not seen the remake only because for a long time this was my favorite movie. I'm not anti-watching the new one, but maybe I'll wait till Redbox. Sorry, I dropped my phone. Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan. Oh, great. Yeah, it's okay. You can go back in. I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. Thank you. Ooh, look at those green eyes. Did I say Mulan? Okay. Tarzan, Emperor's New Groove, Dinosaur. Yeah, I actually like this movie. Atlantis. I think I said this in my last Blu-ray collection video, but so many people compare the Blue Avatar movie to Pocahontas. No. Avatar to me is almost a complete remake of this film, like down to each character. Princess and the Frog, Tangled. Let's go over here. We got Winnie the Pooh, which I honestly, if you told me to tell you the difference between the first Winnie the Pooh movie and this one, I couldn't. But I do like both movies. Wreck-It Ralph, I will never be getting a sequel, and what I'd consider quite possibly the greatest animated movie of the decade, Zootopia. All right, as you can see, we're gonna move on to the criterions that are on the bottom of the shelf. This is every teenager's favorite black and white movie, 12 Angry Men. I love it. I'm poking fun, but it really is fantastic. I think everyone owns that movie. Anatomy of a Murder, James Stewart. Bigger Than Life. This is a criterion that maybe not a lot of people have heard of. James Mason's one of my favorite actors. He's in my favorite movie. And this is a little before its time. I don't think people are ready for the discussion of addiction to prescription medicine. Boyhood, Blowout. I think this is the first De Palma I've showed. De Palma's one of my favorite directors. Blowout's one of his greats. The Breakfast Club, I just kind of felt obligated to get this movie. It's not something I obsess over, but it's good enough to own. Charade, the greatest Hitchcock movie that's not directed by Hitchcock. Man, do I love the cast. George Kennedy, James Coburn, Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn. It's just, I don't know, just such a fun ride. Devil's Backbone, Guillermo del Toro. Pan's Labyrinth is better, but that's greater than his Best Picture. Don't Look Now, one of my favorite horror movies. I love anything set in Italy. The twist ending can be a bit silly, I guess, nowadays, but I totally bought into it. A very creepy movie. I'd watch it. Dressed to Kill. This is kind of a Psycho remake. De Palma obsessed over Hitchcock. It's obvious here, but a really good movie. Easy Rider. I kind of love, just cinema and cinema history and new era Hollywood. This film maybe feels almost like rusty. It feels a little dirty, aged, however you want to put it, but I just respect it so much, and so I could sit down and watch it. The Fisher King, Jeff Bridges is one of my favorite actors. Robin Williams is great as well. The Friends of Eddie Coyle. I've shown this to a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, and no one seems to love it as much as I do. Robert Mitchum is a huge influence on me, and I actually have a picture of him on the back of my car. Gimme Shelter, a documentary on the Rolling Stones. The Graduates, of course, I don't know what else I can say about that. Hoop Dreams, I grew up playing basketball. The amount of dedication you put through in basketball really hit home with me. Obviously, I had a greater situation than these two kids did, but I do like that. Kuroneko. I tried to watch Onibaba, which people like better, but I prefer Kuroneko. I thought this was much scarier and much more rewatchable. My favorite Wes Anderson movie, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which I know can turn a lot of people off, but I don't know, I just love this criterion. It just looks very neat. Midnight Cowboy, which is absolutely one of my favorite movies of the 70s. My Darling Clementine, Henry Fonda, got a lot of respect for him, even if he was a bit of an asshole to his family. This is just a great Western, directed by John Ford, who in my opinion is the GOAT director. The Naked Prey, which is a very, very interesting movie with Colonel Wilde, who was in that Circus Best Picture, The Greatest Show or whatever, that Circus Best Picture winner with James Stewart. He was like the gymnast jumping around. But anyway, he directed this film, and it's almost apocalypto in the way where he escapes this tribe and they like hunting him down. But the first 30 minutes of this film or so, like the actual torture devices that this tribe does on the people, brutal, man. They're one of my worst fears after seeing this movie. The Night of the Hunter, Robert Mitchum, there's not much to say about that. Pan's Labyrinth. After I watched this film a few years ago, I called my brother, I called my friend, I said, this is why I love movies. The Philadelphia Story, this is the on-screen duo of Grant and Stewart, and of course you get Katharine Hepburn as well. The Player, I watched this in film class. The Princess and the Frog, for my money, may be one of the most fun films ever. This thing will not go in! Rashomon, my first Akira Kurosawa in the collection. There will be a few more. Rififi, great heist film. As you can tell, I really like heist movies. Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. Rumblefish, the Francis Ford Coppola movie that people forget about when talking about his greats there in the 70s. This is right after, like Apocalypse Now, but Rumblefish is fantastic. Stagecoach is probably in my top 15 westerns. It's amazing. The chase scene at the end is great. It's a little hard to watch because they're like actually tripping the horses. I guess Sweet Smell of Success is backwards. Tony Curtis, you just don't see him in a role like this. In his whole filmography, you're not going to see him like he is in this one. Actually, Burt Lancaster, you'll never see him like this again. This should have won Best Picture in my opinion. This is one of the greatest movies of all time. Thief, James Caan. Good to see him in a really good movie outside of The Godfather because he's got a lot of charisma. I really like him. The Thin Blue Line, I credit this film film for getting me into documentaries. I believe this is the first Sean Penn to pop up. This is Terrence Malick. This is my second favorite Terrence Malick, and really the only other one I can stomach, which is funny because Badlands and this film to me are masterpieces, and everything else he does is a little, you know, not my style. The Vanishing, I just bought this recently. This is one of my recent criterions. A great ending. I don't think there's anything like it out there outside of maybe the American remake, which I have not seen. E2 Mama Tambien. I feel like I'm saying the same things over again, but I guess this is another road comedy. This is, if you haven't seen this, it's a must. Got this Kubrick set of 3 of his great movies. 2001, A Clockwork Shining. 310 to Yuma, maybe the best Western outside of Hell or High Water of the century. But I say this all the time, Ben Foster outacts Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. A Bittersweet Life, given to me by my friend Hyunwoo Jang. This was a great movie, so thank you for that. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. These are some of my favorite comedians. Gene Wilder, Malin Kahn, Marty Feldman. This is all about Sherlock Holmes' brother who's not famous. They're solving a crime. Also, Dom DeLuise. Airplane. Why do I own this? I actually forgot I owned this. I guess these aren't horrible movies. I remember watching them as a kid. I might actually just like destroy this and throw it in the trash or something. American Honey. This is one of my favorite movies of the decade. Shia LaBeouf is a treasure. Morris Peros. This is the second best film by Alejandro Inarritu, behind Babel, which I'll get to. And American Werewolf in London. I do like this horror movie tournament each year where I get 8 to 16 new horror movies I've never seen before. I watch them. I do like this tournament thing, and I decide which one's my favorite, kind of like March Madness. This won the first year I ever did it, but I've never gone back to watch it. I don't really know why that is. Oh my god, dude, I forgot that these collection videos were like a fucking marathon. Air Command 1 and 2, and then there were None, which I always say is my favorite story ever. Like, not my favorite film, or like my favorite story, like these 10 people in a mansion, one by one they go. My phone just died, so this is a little awkward. Just wanted to say about And Then There Were None. I don't know why they replaced Anthony Marston with like some Prince character, and then the ending of that film is atrocious. It does not follow the book ending at all. I guess it was like 1945, America needed a happy ending. Apocalypto, Mel Gibson's best film. Absolutely fantastic. Wow, Apocalypse Now, quite possibly the greatest movie of all time. I put this right up there with The Godfather, Vertigo. If it's not 1 or 2, it's definitely 3, 4, 5. It's right there. The Austin Powers trilogy. The first 2 of these films are my favorite comedies ever. I mean, these I'm talking 5 out of 5s, 10 out of 10s right here. I can't really explain it. Everyone's comedy is a bit different. Goldmember, I enjoy, but it's kind of just a remake of Spy Who Shagged Me. Babel, I said this was Alejandro Inarritu's best film. I stand by that. The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. Oh my god. I thought I lost this case. No joke. Look. There's nothing in... Hold on a second. There's nothing in this case. I thought I lost it because I have the disc. Oh, sorry, pirate. I'm not shutting you. I'm not shutting you in. I'm sorry. The disc is right here, and I've been looking for it. So, nice. I'm just going to put that right up there for now. Back to the Future trilogy. Oh. Whew. Bad Boys, Sean Penn. He went from Fast Times to this. Yes, please. The GOAT actor. Big Lebowski, one of the best comedies. Jeff Bridges, you know how it is. Black Hawk Down, I own this for that, not this. Definitely one of the best Ridley Scott movies, I'd say. Birds, maybe the lowest tier Hitchcock film I'd own. You know, maybe when I watch it again, I might throw it away. Black Death. I think this is great. I think this is so underrated. I rented it from Redbox probably when Redbox just started. Watched it one school night with my brother, and it's turned into kind of a cult classic for us. Big Trouble in China. I have his tank top, and I love Kurt Russell, and I love John Carpenter. Bone Tomahawk. This was great. I thought Richard Jenkins deserved an Oscar. I have not gone on to like this director's 2 other movies. A Bug's Life. The Burning, the first of like the summer camp slasher trinity. This is probably the worst one, but if you're gonna own one, I feel like you have to own them all. Braveheart. Oh shit, I have The Breakfast Club. That almost hit my TV. Brewster's Millions. Richard Pryor. John Candy. Yas. Oh, that was cringe. I'm sorry. Bronson. Yes, this is great. Tom Hardy, the best reffin' film. I have Bonnie and Clyde, which I've talked about, the new era Hollywood and how much I respect just all of cinema history, and this is one of those films that changed it forever. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I love Paul Newman. He's one of my favorites. Robert Redford and I have an interesting relationship, but Cassidy's definitely one of my favorites. Cabin in the Woods. I remember seeing this in theaters and just being blown away by the ending, and it's still a horror movie I go back to. Oh, I've got both Cape Fears. I really just love... Oh my god, this is like... What's happening? We have the Gregory Peck, Robert Mitchum version, and then the De Niro, Nick Nolte version of Jessica Lange. Just love the story, the characters. I probably prefer the original a little bit more. Carlito's Way, Sean Penn, again, Al Pacino, who's Probably my third favorite actor. Oh, this is De Palma as well, so just a lot of my favorites in a row. Carrie, another De Palma, one of my favorite horror movies. Casablanca, which actually I got from Josh, aka Cinecreep. And yes, he wrote me a note, but that must stay between me and him because that's private. Chinatown, which I have not opened yet. That's embarrassing. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. No character scared me more in movie history than The Child Snatcher. Clue the movie, if you haven't been able to tell already, I love murder mysteries, and Clue's a fun one. And Madeline Kahn's in it, Tim Curry. Colors with Sean Penn. I know my good buddy Jace hates this movie, but I think it's really fun. The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. A lot of people I saw were frustrated by the ending of The Conjuring 2 and how it just ended so quickly, but I was just happy not to have another exorcism, you know. Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman, one of his bests. Ooh, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I saw when I was a little kid. Dark Blue, unless I was just completely high at the time, which I don't do drugs, so I don't think I was. I really liked Dark Blue. I have The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which I don't know why I have The Dark Knight. The first superhero film you've seen in my collection, and there might be two more, but I'm not a huge superhero guy. Dead Man Walking, this movie literally changed my life. And Sean Penn was fantastic, deserved the Oscar that year over Nicolas Cage. Susan Sarandon as well won the Oscar. We have Dead Snow, a good little zombie film. I wish I had the sequel because I like that as well. Deliverance, Squeal Like a Pig, and that's all I'll say. The Departed, I've got the, shit. I'm at like a fucking, oh, excuse me, I keep cussing, I'm sorry. I'm at a corner and I can't even see the movie. Dirty Harry Collection, District 9, Django Unchained, great Tarantino. Dodgeball, one of my favorite comedies of the 2000s. Dog Day Afternoon. Pacino had just done Godfather. He becomes the second biggest name in Hollywood behind Brando. He can choose anything he wants to do in the whole world. And he decides to make a heist film where he's robbing a bank trying to pay for his partner's transition. Yeah, way ahead of its time. Very risky. We're talking about the 70s, people. I usually hate, like the cheap 80s horror movies, that kind of thing. But when you find one you really like, they're special. And Dolls is one of them. We've got every Blue Tuber's favorite movie, Drive. The Drop. I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. The Edge. Probably the only person who owns this Blu-ray. That's a good movie. 8th Grade. One of the better movies from the recent years. John Wayne, Robert Mitchum, and El Dorado. That was my one of my grandfather's favorite westerns. End of Watch. This movie would have been way better if they would have just killed both characters in the end. Finally out of that corner. I felt like I was going to die over there, but I feel much more comfortable now, so let's keep going. We have Escape from New York. Ex Machina, which is the second best film of the decade. The Exorcist. This is, well, for a long time was my brother's favorite horror movie, so I've seen it quite a bit, and I really enjoy it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Wow. Maybe the movie I've watched the most in the past 5 years. I just love this film so much. Every time I watch it, I feel like I'm hanging out with friends again. Phoebe Cates is just like my all-time crush. And actually, I watched the TV version one time. You know the line where he's like, "Oh, those guys are," you know how that finishes. They had the TV version of it. It's so funny. I'll play it right now.
A lot of people expect that maybe Mark Cutback Davis or Bob Jungle Dead Gerard would take the honors this year.
Oh, those guys are fools.
We have Fences, which I feel like a lot of people have just written off. I remember at the Oscars, people thought it was boring, but I thought it deserved the Best Picture. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This is like the what if in my life. It was senior year. I had watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm talking about high school here. Fell in love with him. Oh my God, I need to do a Ferris Bueller's Day Off in my high school this year. About a week later, I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and this totally took over that feeling I was having. I've seen this, maybe 20 times, and I've never gone back to this. Finding Nemo. Finding Dory was dog crap. Get Shorty. The best Tarantino movie that's not a Tarantino movie. Ghostbusters, whatever, they're fine. G.I. Joe movie. Glengarry Glen Ross, a lot of great actors in this film that I respect a lot. Jack Lemmon, Al Pacino. Maybe I shouldn't go too much farther. Glory. I really like this movie, but I do understand that, it's like about the first black regiment in the Civil War. We see it through the eyes of a white man. And, of course, the Godfather trilogy. Friday the 13th, I've talked about the summer camp slasher, Holy Trinity, and this is in there for sure. Fury. I don't know why people don't talk about this movie more. I thought it was really amazing. Good Will Hunting. Goodfellas. Gran Torino, a movie with a million problems, but There's something about it that's just so masterful as well. Goodnight Mommy. I saw this before I saw that South Korean film, A Tale of Two Sisters. I prefer this one, but I understand if you feel like it ripped it off. Goonies, Gremlins, Gremlins 2. The Grapes of Wrath. John Ford, Henry Fonda. Yeah. The Green Mile and Forrest Gump. I'm a Tom Hanks guy. I like Tom Hanks. Grease, the Rockin' Rydell edition. I don't really know what that means. Hacksaw Ridge. Halloween. Harry Potter collection. This obviously brings back a lot of memories for many, including myself. Harvey. This is the best imaginary rabbit movie. The Hateful Eight. Heat. This is the meeting of two masters. Tom Sizemore, of course, is who I'm talking about. Heavyweights. Hell or High Water. You know, I called Ex Machina the second best movie of the decade, but this is probably the second best, not the best. Here's the other two superhero movies I was talking about. Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy movies. That's probably the last superhero movies you'll see on here. Hell and Back. This is a horrible movie that shouldn't be in my collection, but I've got funny memories of my friend Bradley going to see the theater. Her. The Hills Have Eyes. This is the remake. I do like the original as well. Hocus Pocus. Hoosiers. Home Alone 1 and 2. A great Bruce Willis movie that no one talks about. Hostage. I've got the first two How to Train Your Dragon movies. The second one's probably the best in the trilogy. Hurt Locker. Ooh, The Hustler with Paul Newman. Of course, we got Sean Penn's I Am Sam. And another Pixar movie, The Incredibles. Incredibles 2 was just like basically a complete remake of the first one. All you do is replace Mr. Incredible with Mrs. Incredible, and it's the same movie. I mean, beat for beat, the villain's the same. What the villain wants to do is the same. It's crazy. Inception. The Indiana Jones Collection. Inglourious Bastards and The Insider, which is trying to come out before its time. The Insidious movies split up by Inside Now, so yeah, a great little 4-pack here. Before we move on from the Insidious movies, I would say the ranking of the villains, like who I would want to haunt me to who I wouldn't want to haunt me, would be like the Man Witch from the second film, then probably the heavy breather dude from 3, then the key guy, and then of course the red-faced demon would probably be the worst. Insomnia. Interstellar. Sean Penn's directed masterpiece, Into the Wild. The Untouchables. I did not watch the Kevin Hart remake of this. It's a Wonderful Life. How could you go wrong? I have to watch this every December. One of my favorites. Jackie Brown. A Tarantino movie that's way better than it gives credit. It's better than Hateful Eight. It's better than Death Proof. It's better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So stop sleeping on that, people. Jaws. Jurassic Park. Oh, and Jackie Brown's better than this piece of trash. No, I'm just kidding. I like Kill Bill, but I don't know. I never feel like watching it again. The Kingsman movies, both of them. A lot of people hated on this one. I liked it. La La Land. The Last American Virgin. I watched this one late night before high school, like before my first day of high school, and I don't know, it just connected and, you know, got me ready for high school. Leon the Professional. The Lethal Weapon series, which I guess I enjoy all these. My ranking would be 2, 1, 4, 3. Life is Beautiful. Lolita. The Longest Day. All you Marvel fans, this is like the Avengers of its day. The Lord of the Rings movies, because I didn't realize that the extended edition up there didn't come with the theatrical versions. The Lost Boys. Lucas. This maybe is more famous for being the film that Corey Haim got raped on his first time. So I try not to think about that while I'm munching on popcorn watching it. Malcolm X. The Man Who Knew Too Much. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, my second favorite Western. This is a beautiful movie to me. I almost get into tears when I really talk about it. Marty, Ernest Borgnine. Deserved its best picture. I think so. Meatballs. Chris Makepeace, the child actor in here, is great. One of my favorite child actors, and I wish he did more. Milk, Sean Penn's second Oscar. Misery. I own this for The Mist, not 1408. Moonlight, great movie. Both Monsters movies. One of my favorite comedies. Hotel Hell. This is actually a movie I wouldn't have in my collection, but it was something my mom had seen back in the day and she really wanted to show me. And so for my birthday, she bought me this Blu-ray. And so, I don't know, I just feel kind of dirty giving away something my mom spent her hard-earned money on. Mud, McConaughey's best film, I think, just off the top of my head. Muppet Treasure Island and The Great Muppet Caper. Treasure Island is my favorite Muppet movie. Tim Curry, of course. Mad Max Fury Road, and this edition, which I don't even know why I have, actually. And with No Name trilogy. Mel Brooks collection. I love Mel Brooks. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. A bunch of others like High Anxiety, and you can look it up if you like it. I like basically all those movies except for like 12 Chairs. Mid-90s, this was my favorite movie of 2018. The Mummy, which I consider a amazingly fun movie. Probably more fun than any Indiana Jones movie. My Bodyguard, this is Chris Makepeace again. This is his better movie outside of Meatballs. If you haven't watched that, you need to. Mystic River, Sean Penn's greatest performance. I do keep my pocket pussy, my Sasha Grey pocket pussy in here because I need it whenever I see his performance. Natural Born Killers, which is a bizarre film that has Tom Sizemore in a Speedo beating up women. Nightcrawler, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Actually, I don't even know why I own that either. North by Northwest. On Golden Pond. Hey, Bradley just got on Xbox, everybody. 1 Hour Photo. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Once Upon a Time in the West. Out of the Past, and this isn't opened either. That's embarrassing. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. People Under the Stairs, which might be a trash movie. Pirates of the Caribbean, the only one I will own. Planet of the Apes. The only one I'll own, really. Platoon. The Poseidon Adventure. Great film. Gene Hackman's one of my favorites. Ernest Borgnine. Roddy McDowall, that cast is great. Predator, this was a classic as a kid. I still remember when I watched it the first time. Prisoners, my favorite Denis Villeneuve. Pulp Fiction, this is one of those where you can't really add on to what other people have said. The Raid, this is freaking awesome. Screw your John Wick and Dread or whatever else you have. This is the movie. When I was a kid, I wanted to make a movie. I remember I would draw it on a sheet of paper. I wanted to make a film like medieval times where the king dies and he's got like 4 different sons who have their own kingdoms. They all go to war against each other to try to be king, and they're represented by different colors. Me and Kurosawa basically have the same idea. Real Steel, this is one of my biggest guilty pleasures. I saw this 3 times in the theaters, which I was probably 16 at the time, so it's a little embarrassing, but I just love this movie. To this day, I can throw it on and enjoy it. Rear Window. Yes, not as good as Vertigo, but I still love it. Oh, God. Remember the Titans? This was a movie I liked when I was a kid, but Resolution, these directors who did Resolution and 2 other films I'll get to, Spring and The Endless. Where the hell is The Endless? Actually, oh, it's right next to it. These 2 films, they take place in the same universe. They're directed by Justin Benson and Adam Moorhead, directors I've been following since 2012 with Resolution. I don't want to say too much about it. You've got to watch these films. RoboCop trilogy. I only own it the first one. The Reservoir Dogs, Mondo Steelbook, Bradley and I basically stole, and I won't tell you the story because I don't want downvotes. Return of the Living Dead. Yes, that's a great movie. The Revenant, The Ring. This scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and my older brother, I was like so scared of it when I saw it. I don't know how old I was, but I would tell my brother at night, like I'm freaking out because I don't want this Samara chick to come kill me. And my brother would make me feel better. He'd say, well, first of all, she hasn't even called you yet. And when she does call, you'll have 7 days for us to prepare. And then when she gets here in 7 days, she can't take 2 of us on, can she?
Oh, let's get some Blu-rays, boys!
Rio Bravo. A lot of people's favorite Westerns. I enjoy it. I think it's my number 10 Western. Oh, God. The Road. I'm going to have to change Blu-rays. I actually got this when I hung out with Leba in Indianapolis. The Rocky series and Creed. I actually enjoy almost every movie in the series. I mean, even 5, I enjoy parts of it. I did like Creed 2 as well, and I'm completely down for that series to continue. Rope, an hour and 18 minutes long, I believe. It's about 10 one-shot takes of 10 minutes apiece. Rounders, which is another one of those movies I should throw over there. Sandlot is one of those movies when you watch it when you're a kid, like once or twice, and it was okay, whatever. And then you go a few years and you watch Bluetooth videos, and everyone's talking about how great this movie is and how nostalgic it is. And you're like, oh yeah, I did watch that movie one time. So you watch it again at like 15, 16 years old, and you're like, oh my God. You like lie to yourself. It's so nostalgic. It's so fantastic. I love this movie so much. And you go on to love it for like 5 more years until you're about 21 years old, and you realize it's not that great of a movie. So that's the stages of The Sandlot. Then we have the Rush Hour trilogy. The second one is my favorite, but I've always really enjoyed these movies. We have the Santa Claus, which is funny. I asked my Nana, who's my grandma, I asked her one time, I said, what movie did we watch the most when I was younger? Like, what's the most nostalgic movie for you, and what reminds you of me? And she said the Santa Claus, which I guess I do remember. Like, remember going to, did I go to the theaters to see this? I may have, I don't know, I might have been too young, but I remember seeing the film multiple times and going to the sequels in the theaters. It's so special to her, it's special to me. My grandma's been really good to me in my life. Saving Private Ryan, Saw, sorry, Leba, I don't know any of the other ones. God, I'm going to have to change that Blu-ray. I do like Saw, yeah. Scarface, Al Pacino. The Scary Movie trilogy, I stop at 3. Well, actually, you know what? I like some of 4. And my brother really likes 4 as well. But 5 would probably be in the top 10 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Scent of a Woman and Sea of Love. This is Pacino's Oscar, which was questionable. But he was great in that movie. But, you know, I think it was like a makeup. 7. That's a good one. Cowboys, The Green Beret, and The Searchers. The Searchers, first of all, is my 3rd favorite Western ever. It's a masterpiece. It's beautiful. John Ford. The Cowboys is one of those few Western movies where John Wayne actually dies. And when I would go to Blockbuster when I was a kid, and I would go up to the guy, like, my dad would be with me obviously, but I said, I just want a Western movie. I just want a cowboy movie. And so he'd always, the people at Blockbuster would always pick me on a cowboy movie. This was one of the ones they picked me up, and I would rent it over and over again. I just really liked, like, you know, all the kids, and then I could relate to it. Then we have The Searchers again, because you have to own it twice. The Wild Bunch, which is my absolute favorite Western ever. Oh my God, masterpiece. Go watch it, please. How the West Was Won. That one's good too. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. This was not their best collaboration, but I really enjoy those two comedians. They're some of my favorites. Shawshank Redemption. I've got the first 2 Shrek movies. I threw away the other 2. Silence of the Lambs. Silver Streak. Sinister. No movie really scared me in my teenage years outside of Sinister. This one got me. Spring. This is the 3rd movie by those 2 directors I was talking about. This is probably their best movie if I'm thinking objectively. Sleepaway Camp. Okay, I want to make this clear. My favorite horror movie ever. It's not the best, nowhere near, but it's my favorite. And what's special about this is I've probably seen this movie with more people in my life than any other movie out there. So I Married an Axe-Murderer. Stand By Me, Bryn's favorite movie, I think. Starship Troopers. This is my favorite movie with a star in its title. I guess I bought this on Blu-ray sometime. I don't remember doing that, but this is one of the animated sequels. We have the Star Wars movies, which, you know, I guess I enjoy Star Wars. The Last Jedi sucked. I'm one of those people. Step Brothers, The Sting, Paul Newman, Robert Redford. Stir Crazy, another one of those pairings. That's one of the better movies. Straw Dogs, Dustin Hoffman. Sunset Boulevard, which I also got from Josh, aka Cine Creep, and that one does not have a note. Swiss Family Robinson. Swingers. It's a good movie. Taxi Driver. Talladega Nights. The Terminator movies, the only 2 I'll probably ever own. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is one of the best horror movies. Ooh, yeah, probably the greatest movie of the century. Originally gave it a 9 out of 10 when I watched it for the first time, and then I rewatched it and gave it a 10 out of 10, and I had to apologize to a bunch of people. The Thing, my 2nd favorite horror movie, possibly. Titanic, To Kill a Mockingbird, Tommy Boy. Oh, God. God. Toy Story trilogy. The Town. This is one of my favorites. Trick or Treat. Just so much fun. This was probably the last movie I ever rented from Blockbuster. And I remember we were going to our vacation home, and we had some friends down there as well. And we stopped at Blockbuster, and we wanted to pick out a horror movie, just a random horror movie. And we were like, oh, this looks kind of fun. And we were expecting it to be completely trash. And when we watched the movie, we were like, wow, this is amazing. And of course, a few years later from its release, people started to recognize it as such. But it's cool that, like, I don't know, I guess I'm a hipster in that way, where I liked Trick or Treat probably before you did, so you suck on that. Troy, I like this movie. True Romance. I don't know if this Blu-ray is still like $60, but I love this movie. I love Alabama. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. If I'm bringing up hipster again, I rented this the day it was released. Usual Suspects. The VHS 1 and 2. I'd rank the segments for you, but I'm a little tired. Viva Las Vegas. And Warrior, which is a great movie. Westworld, I have not seen the show, but I'll watch anything with Richard Benjamin's mustache in it. Whiplash, this is the best movie of the decade. Wrong Turn Collection, which I actually own the Wrong Turn Blu-ray. You know how everyone has like a horror slasher series they like, whether it's the Chucky series, the Friday the 13th series. For some reason, the Wrong Turn series is mine. I just love those movies. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Willy Wonka, Wind River, which was my favorite movie of 2017, The Witch. Yes, that's one of the best horror movies. Wizard of Oz, Unforgiven, The Wolf of Wall Street, and a movie no one talks about, The Yakuza. Robert Mitchum goes up against a Yakuza, and I don't know, it's a good double feature with Friends of Eddie Coyle if you're trying to knock those out. That was all my Blu-rays, but it's not all my movies. I'm going to show some more off. I do have some Blu-rays down there, but I've never seen any of those films, so I will not be showing them off. But let's go to the DVDs real quick. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 21 grams. Almost Heroes. April Fool's Day, which is a nice little slasher. Beverly Hills Ninja, as you can tell, I like Chris Farley. The Assassination of Richard Nixon with Sean Penn, great movie. The Bad Seed. Alright, Blue Collar. I don't know why the poster for this movie, not this one specifically, but the one on Letterboxd or IMDb, it looks like a Richard Pryor comedy, but it's not. This is like a great movie on the American dream and the struggle to accomplish it. So, yeah, it's deep. Go watch it. Broken Arrow, Casualties of War, De Palma, J. Fox, Penn. Cheaper by the Dozen, which is a movie I saw in theaters and I haven't thrown it away. So, Crossing Guard, Sean Penn directed. Maybe the great narration of all time by Sean Penn. Dogtown, whatever you boys, I don't even care. Frogs, God. I did a Letterboxd review of this that's actually more of like a commentary. So I watched the film and I literally writ an essay while I was watching it. 4 movies: Rebel Without a Cause, Streetcar Named Desire, East of Eden, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Eight-Legged Freaks, I rented this a lot at Blockbuster a lot. Falcon the Snowman, Sean Penn. A pretty unheard of animated movie that's pretty good, Fire and Ice. I've got this 3-pack here of films I'll never watch, so I might throw them away, but they're all good. A Goofy movie. Okay. Ooh, one of the best Paul Newman movies, HUD. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid and The Indian Runner. And James Mason again in The Journey to the Center of the Earth. Ooh, you know how I was talking about summer camp slasher Holy Trinities? Just Before Dawn is a great summer camp movie. Well, it's not really summer camp, I would say, but it's like campy. And it's actually in the mountains instead of like a lake, but really great slasher movie. You should definitely check it out if you don't know it. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. This is my favorite Bette Davis movie. Fantastic. Murder by Death. Such a funny whodunit film with a great cast. Alright, this little trilogy: Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and Evil Under the Sun. The Hercule Poirot series. Lion King 2. Jeez. Little Big Man. Mickey's House of Villains, which is a movie I used to watch. Mallrats. Oh God. Some movies you just can't explain. The Outsiders. Paper Moon. Where's the Blu-ray for this? Or in fact, where's the Criterion? If you've ever heard of Blue Lagoon, Paradise is a rip-off of that, where Phoebe Cates is just naked running around on the beach the whole time, and I'm pretty sure she's 17 years old, which is not of age. Pledge. Sean Penn directed, Jack Nicholson. Racing with the Moon, Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage. Princess and the Goblin. So Eight-Legged Freaks, Princess and the Goblin were like the 2 main blockbuster rentals I did as a kid if I wasn't looking for westerns. Private School. There's a huge story behind this movie you can find on my Letterboxd review for it. Producers. Here we go. This is my favorite movie ever. So I've talked about how I love whodunits. This is a fantastic cast from the 70s, written by Anthony Perkins, who's Norman Bates. It's a murder mystery, so what I'll say to try to sell it. James Coburn, this big movie producer, is throwing a party. His wife dies in a hit and run. Well, a year later, he's on a yacht named after her, and he invites a bunch of people who are at that party to his yacht. And all these people are Hollywood people. So you've got like a writer, a director, a producer, an actress, an agent, and they all think they're coming on this boat to be hired onto a film that James Coburn's going to be producing. And of course, things don't go as planned. I mean, I recommend it to everybody. This is my favorite movie. Rat Race, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Sinbad and El Dorado, Small Soldiers, Something Wicked This Way Comes. It's a good one. Shenandoah, that's another good one too. Shanghai Surprise, this is absolutely the worst movie in my collection, but it stars Sean Penn. It's kind of a meme, so it's and Madonna. U-Turn, Sean Penn has sex with Joe. Headman, a really interesting western with Johnny Depp. 2 Sean Penn movies, State of Grace, At Close Range, both fantastic. This is the Colors DVD I have. I promise you I'm not racist. When I was like 14 years old, I asked for this movie because I was big on Disney and I knew it was obscure and I wanted to watch it, and so I have like this bootleg DVD copy. But obviously in my older years, I understand a little bit more, and I probably shouldn't have this in my collection, so I'm going to pretend to throw it over there. And yeah, Starship Troopers 2, Starship Troopers Invasion, Super Size Me. This was just one of those movies that I had to watch every year in health class. Quest for Fire, When We Were Kings, one of my favorite documentaries. It's actually just got announced on Criterion, so I'm so excited for that. Wrong Turn 6, I got this opening night. This is the copy with all the real missing pictures in it. If you don't know anything about that, you can research it. Alright, we've reached my TV shows. I'm going to go through this really quick because I really don't care about TV shows and I don't know why I have them. And then there are none. The Avatar series, Boardwalk Empire, every episode of Celebrity Deathmatch, Harper's Island, the first 3 seasons of Impractical Jokers. Oh, actually, the 4th season right there. For some reason, I own the Justice League set. Rick and Morty 1 and 2. Ooh, the Spartacus series. The SpongeBob, first 3 seasons. Tales from the Crypt series, which my favorite episode is. 3's a crowd. Game of Thrones, which was one of the most disappointing things that ever happened in my life, the way it ended. And that is everything. There's my collection. It's over, so yeah. So that's my entire movie collection. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was fun for me to do this again. There are a bunch of movies I don't own that I would like to own. I try not to blind buy anymore, but there is a few movies out there that I want. Last thing, I'm probably going to put this video on Unlisted in about a week. If you want to watch this again or keep it or whatever, just put it on your watch later list or put it on some playlist because it will be put on Unlisted. Let you look at my dog one more time. Rest in peace, Murphy. Then I'm going to go to Chipotle because I'm basic like that. Hey, Pirate. Sorry to wake you up, but I just wanted you to say bye to everybody. Okay. Bye.
Jenny. Howdy.
What's that?
Howdy.
Are you borrowing me an iron pipe for a penny? Just kidding about.